Hello, Thrive Nation. We've got a health hero with us, and he's a pure Thrivist. So we've got Dr. Kien Vuu. We share the word thrive. And, you know, as a community in South Africa and beyond, we believe in thriving and not just surviving. So welcome to the Made to Thrive show, Dr. Kien Vuu.
It is a pleasure to be on with you, my brother.
Cool. Well, you're just about to release a new book, and I'm ecstatic because it's got the word Thrive State in your blueprint to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And so that's releasing on the 6th of April, and we're going to do a little bit of a, social media post for you, because I think the content that you are giving out there is incredible. I've watched your TED talk, the unconventional prescription. You are your best medicine. And both myself and my family have been just blown away by your essence. You carry this joy, you carry this warmth, you carry this heart to see people from all creeds, colors, and races just thriving. And so thank you for your calling. I've watched a lot of your content, listened to your podcast, and I'm grateful for physicians like you out there.
Well, I think my story and my journey is really meant for me to finally be able to use the voice now, because, a physician going through conventional medical training, getting sick himself, and have to find medicine outside of the medicine he's learned. I think that is a message that a lot of people could hear, which would empower them to really own their health, own their longevity, and own their performance.
Brilliant. So let's just go with the book. Why did you write this book?
Well, I wrote this book because I found myself 4 years ago, or actually it's about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was trained as an interventional radiologist. And for those who may not know, that's a type of a doctor that uses radiology, which is medical imaging, do minimally invasive procedures. So I would basically perform minimally invasive surgeries on people with, end stage, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, all these end-stage chronic diseases that need some sort of minimal surgery. I would work on them. So I understood disease. But at the pinnacle of my career, I had a fancy house, a fancy car. I flew around the world speaking of all these new, innovative technologies in modern medicine. Yet behind my white coat, I was overweight. I was diabetic. I was hypertensive. I was on prescription medications. And I told myself I was becoming a statistic in the chronic disease tally. I was one of the people that eventually would need one of my minimally invasive procedures. And I needed to reflect back on my life, because I was looking at patient after patient who ended up on my surgery table of where they started. And they started just like, where I was when I had high blood pressure, diabetes, and when I was hypertensive. And what happened? Well, I had to really look back and see how I got to where I got from. And that is the notion, really, that I was not aligned with who I am as an essence. The story really starts, let me tell you, as a refugee.
Yeah. Refugee
in Vietnam. I was born in Vietnam after the Vietnam War. My parents escaped with me on a boat when I was only 6 months old. In fact, I was on that boat for 8 months. Wow. And was the only baby that survived. I had dysentery, 3 more months in a Philippine refugee camp. And then we were sponsored to Los Angeles by a Catholic church. Now, you would think a child growing up after surviving death would be very grateful, but that wasn't the case. I grew up feeling like, I'm the only Asian immigrant poor kid at a rich kid's school. I was constantly being teased. So there was a lot of not enough itis in my life. Not rich enough, not tall enough, not white enough, not American enough. And I took that basically into the field of medicine. And I took that into the stress of needing something external of myself, a career, a white coat, the MD behind my name, to make me feel like I was enough. And honestly, if you can't generate that feeling within yourself and are constantly chasing that, that'll put you under stress. And that stress might lead you to take on habits. And for me, it was not eating right, not sleeping right, and being constantly overworked that led to that chronic disease. When I finally awoke into the fact that it was my own life, my own decision, and my own choices that drove what I call the bioenergetic state of our cells, that it was my decisions that made my cells not function the way it should be functioning, then I said, oh, if I could be responsible for how my cells behave, I can reverse what I did to myself before. And really, once I did all the deep work on nutrition, exercise, epigenetics, I was able to reverse all those chronic diseases in 4 to 6 months. And I told myself, if chronic disease is the statistic that the world is really struggling with, this is an answer. And this is very extraordinary news.
Incredible backstory. I've got some details that I want to unpack. I've got two beautiful children, and my 16-year-old has watched your TED talk, and he said to me, I want to ask Dr. Vuu a question. I said, with pleasure, because I do know a bit of a detail, and this was a key, that you are a gifted young man, and you went to a school that was probably not in a good neighborhood, and probably wasn't the greatest school, that didn't give you the opportunity, but someone recognized your giftedness. You moved to a better school. You're the exile there. It's very similar. We Greek here in South Africa. My parents came from a little island called Cyprus. I understand what it is to be different. They used to call me hairball because I had hair everywhere, in all different parts. They used to call me bubbles because of the food that I used to bring, and I was slightly overweight as a youngster. So I understand that. The question is, what's happened to those little scholars that you shared with but didn't have the gift? How do we get them to actually empower them and inspire them to do what you've done? Because obviously you had a gift. Your mom, I think, said you got 3 choices from what I remember. I love physician, MD, or doctor, But it was your gift that almost made a way. And yes, you might have been chasing this dream, let's call it one for American dream, of the house, the car, the money, the status, the significance. And then obviously that type of lifestyle led to disease and sickness. But my son's question is this: what about those people that are at that school that don't have opportunities? All right. They are stuck in a different mindset. They don't know the Vishen Lakianis of the world. Okay. They're not exposed to a different mindset. They haven't been exposed to the Jim Quicks of the world. How do we change their lives?
Well, I think that's it's a great question. And I believe that's why I am so passionate about using media, about using entertainment, about people like just you and I. 50 years ago, who controlled all the information in the world were a very, very select few. But now with platforms like the podcast platforms, YouTube, Instagram, with all the social media that's out there, many people could have more of a voice. And as we share our voices, then people may be able to resonate where they're at. But that's why I also feel that the information has to be delivered with some sugar. So, I love that you wear your blue light blocking glasses when you're on with me. So, I think that's our opportunity, because, people are poor of mindset, but, all those tools can be attained very easily now for free with the use of a phone or a computer.
Yeah, the benefits of technology, well said. And the true etymology of doctor, I don't know if you know it, Dr. Vuu, is the word docere. And the word docere means to teach. And my Made to Thrive community knows that actually your doctor needs to teach you how not to need medicine. And Hippocrates said the greatest medicine of all, of everything you can do, is teach people how not to need it. And so, you're a teacher, but not only you're a teacher, an entertainer. And so you mix this laughter I've read your blog on laughter, and you mix this laughter with medicine. And so it's an incredible story. So let's dive a little bit deeper. You've got 2 models that I've looked at, the hero model and the 7 bioenergetic sort of elements or states. And someone comes to you and let's look at the things, because I like to draw a narrative. What are the things that are free? I know the last is optimize, and, I use in my other life, I've done a lot of PRP and peptides, and I've done a lot of that work, and it's incredible. But the person outside there, who doesn't have maybe access to private healthcare or, this really, really expensive medicine. Let's talk about those two models, and let's go sort of the very cheap free. Someone's listening to this, they don't have resources. Where do you want to start with when they come to you?
Yeah, so I want to talk about the bioenergetic model of health first, and then we could talk about Hero in a little bit. The bioenergetic model of health, which is what Thrive State is all about, empowers every person to know that their longevity, their performance, mental, physical, emotional, sexual performance, all actually is within their hands. And why is that? That is a concept called epigenetics. And epigenetics actually is great science that tells people that it is the choices or the energetic environment around the cell that actually dictates how a cell behaves. So when we think about everything that we want physically or asking of our body, well, what are we asking? We're asking for basically every single cell to live optimally. So if that cell is optimal, then our function, mental, physical, emotional, sexual, our immune system, our ability to live a long time with extended health span as well, all those things rely on basically how our cells behave and the state of our cells. And the cool thing is epigenetics tells us that it is not the genes that you got from mom or dad that eventually dictates how that cell behaves. Those genes are actually a blueprint, but what turns on certain genes and what turns off certain genes are actually our choices. And our choices create the energetic environment of our cells. That's what I call the bioenergetic state. And there's basically two pathways our cells could take. Our cells could either be in the Thrive state, and that gives us, that gives cellular longevity, cellular performance, and then we reap those benefits as well. Or the cell thinks that it's in danger, or the stress or survive state. And in those states, there's increased inflammation, there's decreased immunity, and there's also a proclivity to get chronic disease. And, God forbid, those are the people that actually are being most affected by COVID-19. Are people who are chronically in that stress state. So what's free? The cool thing is this: I work with an epigeneticist, Stephen Cole from UCLA, so one of my colleagues, and we boiled down the 7 key things that actually, the 7 key free lifestyle things in your life.
Come on.
That will drive your bioenergetic state. And what is that? That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, our thoughts and mindset, relationships, and purpose. If we can look at each one of those factors and optimize that, I would probably say anywhere from 85 to 95% of your bioenergetic state is based on those things. And you could actually reach that Thrive state without the help of a doctor.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I think what you're saying is education inspires, it empowers people if they take it on and they action it. I've also got a little miracle child, a little 4-year-old little daughter called Zoe, and looking at those 7 bioenergetic states. Now, I've got an idea which is the most important to start someone. Someone's listening to this. They can't get a hold of you. They can't get a hold of me. They can't afford it. Which is the most important one to start off with? Because I've got a good idea and I want to sort of unpack this and go into the weeds and dig a little bit deeper, because I think it's probably the most missing element in today's humanity.
Yeah, I would say for me, it was sleep.
Okay.
People right now, we are so exposed to junk light throughout the day. You've got your glasses on, what that's all about. But because of that actually wreaks havoc on our circadian people, because they're hustling out in the world. They're thinking, hey, you know what? I need to hustle into the night, and they give up sleep. And that's one of those things is when your sleep pattern becomes abnormal and you're not sleeping very well, you're pretty much just telling your body everything else comes before me. So this is really a treat to yourself. This is really a commitment to yourself to get good sleep. And for me, when I was able to do that first, when I was overweight, that really was able to kickstart a lot of my weight loss and a lot of changes. The other thing is all the physical changes. Then after you got sleep down and I just took out the sugar next, those two are wonders. So if you're eating a lot of sugar and processed foods and you're not sleeping very well, if you could optimize those two things, man, you're going to notice a big change in your life.
No, I think you're right. You know, there's so much work now on the lymphatic system and all the actual detox that happens when you're at night, and the washing out of cells, and how important the REM sleep is and the deep sleep and the self-quantification of sleep. But I'm going to push you a little bit, Doc, because I think you like the engagement and I think you like the discussion. My view is what I'm starting with my daughter now, because I see her as a clean slate. And these are the words, these are the affirmations that I say that I think carry the greatest bioenergetic field. And when I saw your work, I said, incredible. And it's amazing that your team reached out, because for me, we start with purpose. We start with purpose because why did you fix your sleep? Why did you fix your sleep? What got you to change your sleep, and what got you to change your diet? What are the key whys there?
That's a very, very good question. So, but for me, I love the fact that you're pressing me. For me, I didn't have a why at that point. I lost, the person I was, I was living with somebody. She left me for another man. I was too focused on work, right? It was not until I looked in my mirror and I looked at myself that I said, I didn't like this person. But here was the thing. At that point in time, I did not know my why. So I needed to pick up something that was easier for me.
Yes.
Now I understand the why is a very, very different story. And now that I have my why, I've got rocket fuel. I got rocket fuel to what I'm doing. But when you're when you're in a low bioenergetic state and it affects your emotions also, sometimes finding that why, like you think, oh, I remember thinking, if purpose is so important, if that is it, how come I can't tap into that? And I didn't know that at first. And so here's the cool thing. Bioenergetically, all those 7 things are energetically connected to each other. So if you improve on one thing in your life, energetically, you'll find that it's easier to work on the rest of the 7 things.
Absolutely.
For me, when I started to sleep better and eat better, I started to feel better. I started to have better thoughts. I then started to understand my why a little bit better. As I started to reverse my diabetes, as I started to get a little bit more fit, then I said, hey, I could speak of somebody who is an MD who has gotten chronic disease, and now in the process, so now my why is a lot bigger. I need to share this message now. So if you have that why early, and I'm just about to launching my course in about a month too, and we spend a big chunk on why in the beginning to find that leverage, because I didn't have my daughter before. I didn't have the love of my life before. And it's so much easier to give yourself leverage when you have those people. You'll work 100 times harder for somebody else than you would for yourself. But I just needed something to get me started. And for me, the first 2 things were basically sleep and nutrition.
Fantastic. And I think that's where probably your greatest bleeding points, that's where you were struggling the most, that was probably causing the most damage. So you just stopped the bleeding, you grabbed the lowest hanging fruit, and that made a big difference. But I'm still going to press you, Doc, because I think it's got to do with Ishmael, and it's got to do with someone who was so excited, even in the state that they were in that cancerous state. There's something that triggered there. That's something that said, listen, I can't be this person when someone else is responding like they should. And that was maybe the catalyst before the sleep. It was something that there was a revelation and there was a change that said, come on, I'm a physician. I've got so much to offer. Look at this man. He's probably going to die very soon. And look how ecstatic it is. Unpack that story very, very quickly, because I know your time is precious and I've got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of engagement with you.
You got it. No, you hit me on the head. It was right around 5 years ago. I was diabetic, overweight, hypertensive. Like I said, I was living a life that was so stressful that I needed these external things that make me happy. And that didn't give that to me. One of the quotes the Dalai Lama says that I use over again is what he found most interesting about man. He said humanity, or man, because he would sacrifice his health in order to make money, and then sacrifice his money to recuperate his health. So many of the men I work with were the same way as me 5 years ago. We were sick, overweight, and just not in line with who I was. And I thought I lost it all when I figured out, hey, I'm a doctor giving medical advice and I've got disease. But one day I was rounding in the hospital And I looked at the chart of the patient that I was supposed to see. This guy is a 43-year-old man, Ishmael, and I had to tap 10 liters of fluid from his belly. And I was looking at his chart. I was about to walk in the door, and I was expecting to see somebody who was just like not that was in more despair than me. But when I walked in, there he was, bright-eyed. It just gave me the energy. Hey, Doc, how are you, man? I remember that. I was like thinking, how is this guy so happy?
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation, and I asked him, how are you so positive? And he said, Doc, it's easy, because every day I have a choice, of how I show up. And every moment I want to share love and share this positivity. And I choose to do that, even on the days where, I'm not feeling well, even on a day like this, where you have to drain 10 liters of fluid from me. And I just thought that was so powerful, because it's our decisions that are able to make us press the reset button, So whatever low bioenergetic state we're in, as long as we can make the decision to say, I want to be 100% responsible for how I show up in the world, how I show up for my health, how I show up for my family. And it was that moment that I said, hey, I need to show up for me.
Yeah.
So you're right. Thank you for reminding me of that story. Yeah.
No problem. At the end of the day, we take our purpose, and the first place we often show up is ourselves. We got to lead ourselves, and then we lead our closest communities. Because you got a little daughter. What's her name, Doc?
Her name is Kaya.
Kaya. So you got Kaya now, right? Yeah. And I got Zoe, and she's beautiful now. So what the bioenergetic field, you're going to get her sleep right. Of course, you're going to help her with nutrition. But now you've got a greater purpose. You've got a greater purpose for the love in your life. You've got a greater purpose to extend not only to yourself, but to Kaya. And so that field of the bioenergetic field of purpose and then relationship, what we call communities, you've got multiple communities that you serve, and people will live and die their purpose through their communities for their children. We know that. And so I think take us through the process of the hunger of hero, because I think it's important. You've got to have that hunger to take your own purpose, your vision, your calling, firstly for yourself, because you've got to lead yourself, and then your close family.
Hunger is so important. Hunger gives you the motivation and the energy to do what you don't want to do. Hunger says you keep going when you fall down. So you really need to do that. And that's what makes people, when I look at the people who are very successful, when I look at the people who are very healthy, and they have a drive to really own that those things are a possibility for them if they've got that hunger. And how do you tap into that? Well, number one, like you were saying before, who are the people around you that are your leverage points?
Yeah.
I am very fortunate to have Kaya now. I've got a bonus daughter, Kira. I've got the love of my life, Tiffany.
Wow.
And now I know that my story and this book are going to empower so many other people. I can't let those people down. So one, hunger is getting leverage with people. The other thing is, ask yourself, I have people also do a eulogy exercise sometimes, is, look back and say, at your deathbed, how do you want to be viewed by the world, by the people that are closest to you? What type of life would you have lived? And are you on the path of living that life now or not? Let that be fuel. And then the last thing, to drive hunger sometimes is if you happen to be diabetic, and this is something that I had to let myself feel, right? When I was a diabetic, hypertensive, and overweight, I had to look and said, you know what, if I were to continue this way, I'm going to need surgery in X amount of years. I'm going to need to do what I do with myself, which is open up arteries for people, because, the arteries are all clogged up.
Yeah.
So I had to associate all that pain, number one, to just, continuing living the way I did. But here's the other thing. What it would be better, a vision of my life, of being more energetic, of being able to use this voice to spread joy and to spread my medicine. So knowing the pain of, continuing being the way I was versus, being pulled towards a vision of myself and the world that's better, all those things can drive one's hunger.
Brilliant. Let me give you a little bit of a scenario, Dr. V, is that I saw someone today, one of my clients I'd seen and helped her significantly 5 years ago, changed her life through a number of procedures. It was incredible. but she didn't sustain any maintenance whatsoever. And this sustained transformation is so difficult because Naval Ravikant said something that stuck with me. The seed of change is suffering. And I think that's what was happening with you. There was suffering. You know, you got chronic diseases and many things that we have suffering in our life allow us to change. But it's so short. It might be 6 months and then we feel great. And then we drop all those lifestyle habits and the things that helped us change. You know, and so sustained transformation is something that we really preach and declare at Made to Thrive here. Give us some keys, some habits on how people can actually move from sick care to preventative health care, because it seems that people only respond when they're sick and they're going through pain. It's only when they go and see the interventional radiologist or they've got to go and see the cardiologist. It seems like it's human nature that says we only respond to these absolute, events in our lives like heart attacks before we take action. Help us there.
Great question. Well, one, I look at it from two angles. Firstly, you can look at it at the angle that sometimes you need that kick in the butt, that change for something to happen to you to give you that motivation to switch. You're completely right. People don't think about their health until they lose their health. People don't think that they're aging until they start feeling some of the effects. But here's what I know that drives a lot of people like you and I. We do want to feel good. We do want to be in our A game, right? We want to show up, with more strength, with better with better mental acuity. Who doesn't want to feel like Superman? So we tell people that you can be a version of yourself that could really fully serve. And all of that is actually boils down to your habits, then that's really some motivation for them to kind of take on. Then it's understanding that becoming that person, getting that new identity, is really about installing the habits. It's not a quick fix diet. It's not a quick fix. I'm going to sleep better now for 2 months, because, it's summer vacation. It's not that. It's consistent action that we decide to take every day because we want to live the best version of ourselves. And it's just understanding that it's a new lifestyle mindset, a new way of being and showing up in the world. And it feels great, for you and I, and I'm sure from what we preach, that thriving sensation is a great feeling.
That is incredible, but it takes hard work, and you got to choose the hard road, from the things like my nutritional tools of intermittent fasting and, prolonged fasting, to watching your diet and only being able to let go while other people are, in this last 12 months, I've never seen many of my patients consume alcohol to the degree that they were consuming alcohol, eating to the degree they were, putting on weight to the degree they were. So it is the harder road, but it is the road that leads to that A game, like you said. I do want to just take a little bit of a diversion because Dr. Jeffrey Bland and I spoke about health coaches. James Maskell from the Community Cure spoke about, health coaches. Dr. Hyman's great quote that I remind my community of, that community is the greatest force to bring about change. Tell me about your role of health coaches. Do you have health coaches? Because at the end of the day, your time is so valuable. Your rate per hour is so huge, warranted from all the years of study, and you can only see so many people. What's your view on health coaches and where's it going?
One, I love the idea of a health coach. I have to tell you this, doctors were not trained to help people change behavior in their lives. Doctors never understood, because otherwise we would not have disease. People would come to your office. We always told people, hey, you need to change your diet, do this, do that. But I was a doctor a couple of years ago who suggested people do these things, but I didn't do them myself. So one, I think a person to be able to guide, to find your leverage and to know these tools, people did not learn in medical training. So I don't know if the doctors that, which is why I find health coaching so important. For me, I went through all the personal development and health coaching actually type of courses that with my private clients one-on-ones, it is a very, very hefty price tag. It's a very hefty price tag for people that work with me. So I become the health coach and their doctor. But as I think about how I am scaling, because more people are wanting to come into the program now, I believe the next 2 hires, one of them will probably be a health coach. I think it's so important because when you have a health coach, it's really understanding how do you create behavior change, right?
Exactly.
And how do you leverage that? And this is why I love the model that James Maskell, a good friend of mine, brought up, which is group coaching too. If you can bring people in a community, they learn better, they execute better. And they're also accountable to each other. And it also raises another bioenergetic element, one of the 7 that I talked about, which is relationships and community. So I am a strong advocate for a health coach. And I would recommend, I would probably say that if you got a good health coach that's not an MD, they might prevent you from seeing a doctor in the future. And that's all good.
Absolutely, because we want people out there thriving in a health state, helping others, so I think the community is important. I found over the last 2 years, probably my greatest learning, and, I've been in health and wellness for 22 years and, done hundreds of thousands of treatments now. But what's been a game changer the last 2 years for me has been changing my light diet and understanding non-native electromagnetic fields that come from blue light, screens, flickers, radiation that comes from, cell phones, those type of things. Tell me, what do you think about the light diet and cell phone radiation?
Can you tell me about the light diet? I'll tell you about the radiation thereafter. I'm not familiar. Is it?
I'm going to give you some links in that, and I think it's really, really important. I've spent hundreds of hours with this, and it's really got to do with about what light you allow in your eyes from a circadian rhythm point. So at night.
Your light diet.
Yes. Yeah, the light diet. There you go for it. Okay, so you got it now.
Yeah. So I think it's super important. Let's start from the beginning of the day. I love to start off my day, no matter how I'm feeling, is run outside first thing, get some sunlight. If you can get 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight and moving in the morning, at that point, you're telling your body, hey, it's on time. Your body's going to start secreting some cortisol. That's great. I try to do that as much as I can. Now, during the day, you might have a lot of junk blue light from your computers and all that. So there are different versions of lights that you can wear during the day and at night to block out all the junk light that we're getting. So, when I have blue light blocking glasses when I'm not having to be camera ready, I use those. And I think getting that is very important. And if as much time as we can spend off of this, and the other thing is just trying to have a curfew. I make sure I don't check this thing after 8 p.m. my time, to affect my sleep. So,
okay. Well, for those guys on YouTube, my light's gone out because we had some connection audio problems. So I've taken the blue blocking glasses off. But so light diet's important, circadian rhythm's important. Tell us about radiation, Wi-Fi's. I'm a geobiologist and I've spent some time assessing radiation. We've got in the last 100 years, someone like Dr. McCullough has mentioned something like there's 10 to the power of 18 in terms of high frequency waves that have increased over the last 100 years. People are sitting with Bluetooth devices. We're sitting on devices now using Wi-Fi to connect. How damaging is the oxidative stress coming from all these devices?
To be honest, in the physical body, I don't know, for sure. I don't know. I know that a lot of the data that we have, in terms of oxidative stress comes in vitro studies, and it's definitely suggestive that it's not good for us. So I would probably say until we know the information for sure, I do think that EMFs do play a role in lowering our bioenergetic state. So as best as we can, turn your Wi-Fi off at night, and have some maybe, Wi-Fi, covering. We put some Wi-Fi protectors in Kaya's bedroom.
Oh, wow.
So.
Okay, so you're well versed with that. Obviously, that's important as a stressor and important in terms of mitigating and improving your environment. I think obviously going outside, I'm not sure what the 5G story is there. You're based in California, aren't you?
I am based in California, yeah.
I'm not sure what it is there, but these levels are increasing. And I think that's why it's so important to put those other 7 bioenergetic elements into place, because there's this unknown, and I'm not here to fearmonger at all, but I think it's definitely a role that we need to look at. Okay, Doc, coming to the top biohacks that you have, my number one top biohack in terms of helping people I'm living in Johannesburg city, very, very stressful city. You talk about sympathetic drive, huge fight or flight syndrome here from just a crime point of view, an instability point of view, really a lot of sympathetic drive. And an infrared sauna has been my number one biohack. And then watching my light diet, and the community knows putting Iris Tech on my computer and the blue blocks. But tell me about maybe your top 3 biohacks and what you found has helped you, because time is obviously a very, very important resource. Energy is a very important resource. Tell us about your top 3 biohacks.
Yeah, top 3 biohacks are not really even technology based.
Yeah.
One is the cold plunge, and I actually have a hike up up one of these mountains here that has a perfect hike with cold plunge, and the cold plunge really allows me to kind of drop into that parasympathetic very easily and brings me to calm. So that's a great way, and it speeds up your metabolism. One of my favorites, which brings me out to number 2, which is related, is I get some nature getting up there. All right. So nature has so many medicines actually within its environment itself to bring you to calm. And plus you're getting all the great, sunlight, in a lot of the great vitamin D booster with nature. And then the third biohack that I love is something called the chili pad. I don't know if you heard of it.
I've got it. Yeah. I'm a partner here. Yeah.
So I noticed myself sleep, a lot better, a lot deeper sleep having the chili pad. And for those people who don't know, our optimal sleep temperatures are anywhere from 60 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we can be in that zone, it is proven that our deep sleep increases. And so that's another great biohack that is, improved my sleep, that I've noticed when I started using it.
Cool. Tell me, I'd love to hear your view, because you've obviously well connected and very, very well educated, and you've been speaking a lot about these bioenergetic models, is oral health. I interviewed Dr. Nishvitz. I think you should have him on your podcast. And everyone out listening there, go and check the Thrive State podcast. Incredible. I was listening to a recent one now with Aaron Alexander. Fantastic. So well done. But tell me about, Dr. Al Dannenberg, a periodontist and a biological dentist, and talking about root canals and mercury fillings and infections in the mouth and how important them. And a lot of these biological dentists say that it's the foundation of your health. Give us your view on biological dentistry.
I recently became aware of that once I started to fix my diabetes and getting into the functional medicine world. I'm going to open my mouth for your YouTube audience. You can see all those fillings are gone. So it's amazing. Mercury fillings, we don't know just the degree of, the minimal amount of mercury that is dripping into your bloodstream when you have fillings. So when you have a biological dentist, I recommend you remove your fillings. I think they're also great. They use things such as ozone for a lot of their surgeries as well. That helps sanitize the area very well. And I really think in the approach, the oral health is so important, because if you've got any disease, just like you've got leaky gut, if you've got periodontal disease, that's almost kind of like the leaky gut of your mouth.
Yeah.
You're letting all the bacteria in your mouth kind of go into your system, which causes low-grade inflammation that, again, leads to all the other chronic diseases. So it could double up. If you've got a bad, oral health, it will double up even worse if you've got, a bad leaky gut health as well.
Brilliant. And we'll link to Dr. Nishvitz's episode as well as Dr. Dannenberg's episode. And a little trail is leaky gut, which we know, and leaky gum that I learned in the last year. And then obviously leaky brain. So 3 areas that we sort of connect with the external environment, and it leaks. Coming to the end of the show, Dr. Vuu, thank you so much for your time. If someone's going to action something, just one thing, they want to start tomorrow, they want to action one thing. And I know it's very difficult because, as you said, there are bleeding points in different people's lives. Sleep might be the biggest, food might be the movement. We haven't got into movement, which I really wanted to, but maybe we can do that in the future. But tell me, what are the 1 or 2 things that people can action today, tomorrow, straight away, that is going to really optimize their health, their longevity, and their peak performance?
I would probably say there's 2 easy fixes, which were the easy fixes for me at the time, which was One, for sleep. Go to sleep the same time every night and wake up the same time. Once you've got that circadian rhythm locked down, your hormones are then like, in a nice rhythmic fashion, secreting in your body. So you have good hormone optimization when you sleep well. The other thing is just get rid of the sugars. It wrecks your microbiome. It, increases oxidative stress in your body, and it makes you fat. So those two are the key things. But I would say for everybody else, if you look at those 7 things, if you read the book and you look at all the tools that you can adopt, ask yourself, what is the low-lying fruit for you? Do that first. For anybody that's out there, do the thing that's easiest for you to do first. Start there, build momentum, and then the other things will follow.
Great, and we'll link to the website, and you can get it on pre-order from the website with Dr. Vuu. And I just salute you, Dr. Vuu. You've come from a background where you've obviously got to work hard. These things don't come easy. Yes, you had a gift, and that's incredible. But now you're choosing to empower and educate others. Those that might not have a gift, but that can hear your voice through social media channels, through your YouTube channel. And we'll put all the links to your social media handles. And just wish you the best with you and your family. And you're a famous doc sitting on doctors and all these programs, but you've given me the time. And so really, really grateful. Hopefully your African audience will grow, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate it.